Hi guys, happy 420. I'm here making a video in Gilroy. I drove here to make a video for you guys on this day, and my subject is about this day in particular. This incident didn't really happen on this day, but it was around this time 2 years ago. Some of you know I used to be kind of a stoner, and I used to smoke weed and post myself smoking weed. It was a phase for me. I'm over it now. What I'm gonna get into is just my experience, one of my really bad experiences with smoking too much weed. So I was in Tahoe with my boyfriend at the time 2 years ago. We only had been to Tahoe a couple times, but we went up there to go to his dad's cabin because his dad rented out this cabin. And we went there this one time to stay with his dad and his dad's fiance at the time, his sister and his baby sister. So when we went to this cabin, it was a really nice cabin, and I think maybe 2 days in, we were having a really good time and smoking and like buying weed and stuff. We went to this one collective there. I'm sorry, I have allergies right now. It's really bothering me. We went to this one collective, and he decided to get an edible, and it was this chocolate bar about this big, I would say. Yeah, like that big, but it was 2 squares, and it had like a little weed symbol on it, weed leaf, and I forgot what it was called, but I know it was 50 milligrams, and at the time I didn't really care about like the milligrams or how much was in the actual product. Obviously I took a bite, and then a bite turned into like 3 or 4 bites, only of this one square. One of the squares, the square was like that big. Square was like, each square was 50 milligrams. I'm sorry. I ended up taking a few bites of this one square. Told me just take like, he's like, don't take a full like half of the square. He was like, take only a couple bites, but it tasted so good, so I just took all the bites I wanted. At first, we were going to go skiing, or we were gonna try to. So after that, we drove to the ski resort, or the ski place, and we were like getting in our gear and all that, and like we were in our gear already. Then I decided I was a little too high to ski, and so I was like, I'm too high, like I can't do this. Like I'd rather just go back and like sleep. Went back to the cabin, and his dad and his dad's fiance and the kids weren't there at the time, so we just stayed in the room and kind of hung out, and we watched some videos together. I think we watched like Netflix or something. Can't really remember. We just chilled and pretty much just watched videos, and as time went by, I started feeling like I was like drugged. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but you just know when something's wrong. I straight up asked him, I was like, did you drug me? And he was like, no. He like got offended kind of. He was like, why would I do that to you? I was like, well, I don't know. I feel like I'm being drugged right now. And he was like, no, I didn't drug you. So I decided to like try to calm down, because I get really bad anxiety as it is. And like every time he used to smoke, I would get, well, every time he used to smoke copious amounts, I'd just get really high sometimes, and I just get anxiety and start sitting there and thinking really hard about random stuff, and my heart would be pounding. So this edible, as time went on, the high got more intense and more intense and more intense, and it was really scary for me. I only took an edible one time before, and it was actually, I'm pretty sure it was like a lollipop. It was a lollipop, and it was in high school. I was laying on my bed, and then somehow I ended up on the floor wondering what the hell was happening, because I felt like shocks all through my body, and like my heart was racing. My breath was getting shorter for some reason. Just that anytime I took too much or smoked too much, that would happen. The time when this was happening, I was trying to lay down and relax and try to like think about anything else besides what was happening to me. And I was sitting there with him, with the guy I was dating, and it just got progressively worse and worse. Like, I couldn't even explain it, but I do remember some of it. I don't remember all of it, but I remember it getting darker outside, and I was just laying there for like hours, just like looking outside until it got dark. And the guy I was dating, my boyfriend at the time, he was like, my dad wants me to run to the store and get some food for everyone to make dinner tonight, so I'll be back. Okay, number one, if you're dating someone that encourages you to eat edibles or do any type of drug that they don't know that you can handle, or they don't know how you'll react to, and then they decide to leave you in a room alone, don't do that. Don't do that to anyone. If you're dating someone and you care about them, you would do that often, or they don't have experience being alone, just don't do it. And him, I was like, don't leave me. Like, I'm scared. I can't be alone right now. And I was really scared. I was actually like crying too, because I was like legit going into a trip. So he was like, well, I have to, like, my dad is gonna get mad if I don't go to the store, and then he's gonna think something's fishy, like, he's gonna think something's weird. Well, I kept saying no, but he ended up just leaving, like, bye, I'll leave you here alone while you're tripping your balls off. I was just laying in that bed, in that room, in the dark, and I remember, as it got, like, worse and worse, I started imagining things and like seeing things that weren't really there. I imagined, or I like thought that my boyfriend had come back in the room and said something to me like, are you okay? I imagined he said that, but he really didn't say that. It was all in my mind. And what was weird about it was that when he got back, because he got back kind of soon actually did come in the room, and he was like, are you okay? Like the same exact way as I imagined him to. Weird, because I would be in the room sitting on the bed just looking at nothing, and then I'd see him come through the door, and then he'd like turn the light off, and then I'd be like, no, leave the light on, and then he'd turn it on, and then as soon as he left, it'd turn off again. And that's like what I was just like imagining, I guess. Really freaky. So when he got back, he sat with me a little while, and he was like, oh, are you okay? Like, do you need any water? Do you need anything? I was like, no, like, I just need you to stay here with me, because I don't know how to deal with this. I've never been this fucking high. Like, I'm tripping right now. I'm tripping. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll try to stay if I can. His dad got home, and everyone else got to the cabin, and I specifically remember hearing them come in, and then it was like this other moment where they were talking about something, talking about someone dying. Like, they said, oh my God, she's dead. She's dead? And then I'd hear, like, his little sister start crying. And, whatever they were talking about, I'm not really sure what they were talking about. But just hearing she's dead when you're tripping that hard, it's actually really scary. It was really scary. Like, I legit thought I was dead. I even asked my boyfriend, I was like, am I dead right now? Am I dead? Like, did I die? Is this the night where I died, you know? And then he was like, no, you're not dead. You're freaking me out. And I'm like, you're freaking me out. You keep coming in here and asking the same questions, and I'm really scared right now. I've only came in like once or twice, and I was like, shit, well, that's not good to hear, because now I know I'm tripping hard. So the weirdest thing about this whole experience was that things kept replaying in my head, and I would keep seeing the same things. There was one moment where I was laying on my side looking out the window, and it was snowing outside. But at this one point, I was looking outside, and then I looked at the wall, because the wall had the shadow of the trees on it. The trees from outside, the shadow was like on the wall right here. Because there were night lights outside on the street, and I just remember sitting there like watching that, or looking at that, at the shadow on the wall, and then I'd see it whoosh past, and then the trees would move, and then they'd appear again, almost like it was like time had like went really fast, you know? Like, I don't know how to say it, but it's just like the trees moved, and they made a whooshing sound as well. Like, it was so real. It was in my ear. It was like whoosh, like, and that freaked me out. I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, how many days has it been? I mean, talking about it now, it's definitely funny, but at the time and for weeks after that, I did not want anything to do with weed or anything like that. Anything. And another thing that was annoying about the guy I was dating at the time was that he was constantly pressuring me to do it, like smoke, like do acid, like pop a molly. Like, he made me feel like if I didn't do that, like I wasn't cool enough, or like I wasn't grown up or whatever. And so a few times I did end up doing weed with him after that, and it just felt wrong. The whole vibe, it felt wrong, because I would get anxiety at night after doing it during the day. and I wouldn't be able to sleep all night because I'd just be up. My brain would be awake and I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So, and then this other time I ended up doing Molly with him, and it was only a small dose, but very stupid of me because I thought it was alright since he was doing these things a lot. I thought it would be alright for me to do them. That's never the case. If you don't feel comfortable doing something, don't do it. Just don't do it, because you have a life to live. You have priorities in your life, and if your priorities don't meet at the middle with the other person's priorities, well, you can't do anything about it. Like, you just need to focus on yourself and like what makes you happy. But yeah, that was my experience with an edible a couple years ago, and it was fucking awful. I don't know if anyone has had that same experience or not, or like something worse, but I mean, that'd be cool to like hear if someone else had a similar thing going on, because it was very scary for me, especially the fact that I was alone most of the time. That was horrible. But yeah, now like I don't really smoke. If I do smoke, if it's around me, like I'll take like 2 hits and I'll be like, okay, that's too much, even though it's not, even though I don't even really feel it. I'm just so scared of going back to that like feeling of anxiety and fear. And so leave a like and a comment if you want to, if you've had a similar experience or anything. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'll put my info below and on the screen right here. But yeah, thanks for listening. That's it though.